Hello and welcome back to Hestia's Muse, podcast for astrological devotionals. My name is Liliana Blackstar, and I am here to bring you a spiritual devotional of self-discovery and personal growth that is in some way inspired by astrology. Join me to tune into astrological transits and the Wheel of the Year for inspiration in your greatest task in life, to know yourself. Hello and welcome back. It's me, Liliana, and I am here with another tarot astrology devotional for you. This week we're going to talk about the Three of Swords. So if you've been following along with this series, or if you're new here, welcome. Each of the tarot cards are in some way associated with an astrological sign, a decan, a season, or a planet. The Three of Swords is the tarot card associated with the Second Decan of Libra. So this is the middle section of Libra from 10 degrees through the 19th degree of Libra. So it is the very middle section of Libra. Anytime that any planet moves through this middle section of Libra, it's considered to be in the Second Decan of Libra. So this year the Sun has been traveling through the Second Decan of Libra from October 2nd through October 12th, which is today, the day I'm recording this, but this devotional is meant to be listened to at any time. That's just when the Sun is moving through that period of the zodiac this year in 2023. So each sign is ruled by a planet, and then each decan is also sub-ruled by a planet. So you can think of this as like a shift manager. The entire sign of Libra is ruled by Venus, but these middle 10 degrees of Libra are also influenced by the planet Saturn. So you can think of this middle section of Libra to be Saturnian in nature. Therefore, you could also interpret the Three of Swords card as having a strong Saturn influence, or to represent the energy of Saturn in Libra. Saturn does not have to be in the sign of Libra for this card to be relevant, but it can help us if we think of Saturn as influencing this section of the zodiac, and that this card should be interpreted by blending the archetypes of Libra and Saturn. So the Three of Swords, I'm going to first list off some keywords and concepts. And this is a tough card. This is not generally a card that you want to see in a reading if you're drawing tarot cards for yourself. It's going to be bringing up some tough feelings and situations or some kind of crisis. So some of the keywords and concepts for this card are anguish, betrayal, conflict, coping with pain, having a crisis of faith or a crisis of ideals, disappointment, emotional upheaval, the need for forgiveness, grief, heartbreak or heartache, the need for healing, a period of loss or mourning, pain or emotional pain, mental pain, piercing truth, regret, sadness, separation, sorrow, unveiling the truth, and wounds. The Three of Swords in the tarot deck represents a often challenging aspect of the human experience. The image is usually depicted by three swords piercing a heart. So this card symbolizes emotional pain, heartbreak, and the difficult process of facing painful truths. It suggests a period of sorrow, separation, or the aftermath of a significant emotional upheaval. This card does not necessarily indicate a permanent state of being, but rather a moment of profound emotional vulnerability. The Three of Swords in a reading can serve as a reminder that facing and processing emotional pain is an essential part of the healing journey. It encourages people to acknowledge and express their feelings honestly, recognizing that through this cathartic process, you can find the strength to heal and eventually emerge stronger and more resilient. So it usually signifies a period of intense grief and sadness, often stemming from the shattering of illusions or a painful revelation. This is the Truth Hurts card. Something has been revealed to you that is kind of shattering your world, hurting you emotionally. The Suit of Swords is about words and emotion, words and ideas. So words can hurt, ideas can cause pain, our thoughts can be shattered or challenged in ways that kind of bring up all of this emotional upheaval and pain. It might be a moment when someone has lied to us and we just found out the truth, or there's just something we didn't want to hear that is painful. So the unveiling of truth, the truth is piercing us, causing us pain. We have potentially a conflict that is coming up in a communication or in relationship that is hurtful. So this is very hard situations, but as humans, we all can relate to having a Three of Swords moment in our life, probably multiple times through our lives. So let's talk for a moment about Saturn and why this card is a Saturnian card, right? Saturn in astrology symbolizes discipline, structure, and the principle of limitations. Saturn is the archetype of a wise or mature person who emphasizes hard work, responsibility, and things that we learn with time. So there are these moments that are Saturnian where we learn something that changes us as we get older. These Saturnian moments are the times when we look back and think, gosh, I was so stupid when I was younger. Thank goodness I have learned better. Like, I've learned to do better. I've learned to be more cautious, more responsible. And some things we just learn with time and experience, and those are Saturn type of things. Saturn challenges people to confront their limitations and build strong foundations through diligence and perseverance. It governs over authority, societal structures, and the tangible results of our hard work. Saturn is often associated with lessons. It is seen as a teacher. It brings us karmic lessons or lessons that teach us maturity and responsibility. Saturn urges us to go through life with more maturity and commitment, a sense of purpose, and to recognize the consequences of our actions. Saturn is definitely big on teaching you about the consequences of your actions, and urging you to take responsibility for your own actions instead of playing the victim and acting like everything is just happening to you. Saturn wants you to admit your own role in things and the way that your actions and your choices have brought you to this situation in some way. So it's somewhat learning to take ownership for your own life, and instead of blaming other people, you recognize like your own, you recognize the things that are your own consequences or your own doing. So although Saturn, like in this way, sounds to be very harsh and cruel because it's about challenges and restrictions, Saturn is usually about this potential for profound growth. Saturn brings us a potential for resilience. We get stronger through Saturn lessons. We get wiser, we get smarter, we get tougher. And we establish the ability to endure. We become more structured or more resistant to the hard things aren't going to knock us over as much as they might just slow us down a little bit. Like we become more resilient. So when we combine the archetype of Saturn with Libra, we're going to start noticing where Saturn is teaching us lessons relevant to relationships, right? Because Libra is associated with finding balance and harmony in partnerships. Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus craves harmony and connection with other people. And so through Libra, we learn about connecting with other people. And then when Saturn gets involved, we have to recognize the fact that we need some kind of maturity in our relationships, right? We need responsibility. We need to take ownership of our own actions and the consequences of our actions. Libra is an air sign, so it's very much about communication. And this is about learning to take ownership of the consequences of the things that you say, and recognizing that your words have an impact on other people and their words have an impact on you. Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra. So that means Saturn in Libra is operating at a very, like, Saturn likes being in Libra. Saturn likes organizing between groups of people. Libra is about harmony and cooperation. And can you imagine trying to cooperate without any type of structure? If you've ever been in any type of group dynamic where people have to work together, someone needs to kind of step forward as a leader and take charge and say, this is what we need to do. You go here, you go here. We kind of need that Saturn influence of authority and restriction in order for like this cooperation to really work. And if someone just says, I don't want to listen to you, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm not going to follow these rules, then they're not being very Libra-like. They're being Aries-like. They're saying, I'm going to do it my way. So relationships need some kind of structure. They also need honesty, maturity, respect, and these are very Saturn concepts. So Saturn's influence on Libra is about challenging individuals to establish relationships that are built on fairness and respect. It prompts a evaluation of commitments. Saturn urges people to define your boundaries and take responsibility for the health and sustainability of your relationships and your connections with other people. The energy of Saturn's influence over Libra reminds us that we have to bring some maturity to all of our interpersonal relationships. We have to be willing to address any imbalances or conflicts or shortcomings in our relationships. And it emphasizes the importance of fairness, honesty, justice, and commitment to ethical and responsible behavior in all types of partnerships. While Saturn's influence can bring challenges and tests, these challenges ultimately aim to strengthen the foundation of relationships. They are teaching us how to build enduring connections that withstand the test of time. So it's a time for individuals to invest in the long-term health of their partnerships and lay the groundwork for enduring and mutually supportive relationships. So kind of connecting this Saturn and Libra energy back to the Three of Swords, looking at that image again of these swords stabbing through this heart, we can see this Saturn element of limitation and how someone in this relationship was not wielding the energy responsibly, right? And it resulted in pain. Whether that was you or whether it was the other person, someone has done or said something that has resulted in some kind of pain or heartbreak. The swords represent the element of air, and as such, that reminds us of the power of our words, our thoughts, and ideas. The Three of Swords remind us that our words, thoughts, and ideas can cause great damage and pain if they are wielded inappropriately or without care. Libra is the cardinal air sign that teaches us about all kinds of relationships and partnerships. This is not just about romantic partnerships, but it is about any type of partnership that requires collaboration and cooperation. So yes, romantic partnerships, but also other kinds of partnerships and relationships as well. So through Libra, we learn how to cooperate with other people, to come into partnerships with shared goals and ideas, rather than just acting as individuals. So this can be a beautiful and rewarding experience. Remember that Libra is ruled by Venus, but it also makes us vulnerable to pain when our partnerships are not mutually supportive, or when that partnership is not handled with maturity on all sides. So there will be times when the words or actions of the people around us are hurtful or painful. There will be times of conflict when our ideals or goals do not align with other people's. And sometimes words are used to betray us or control us. Sometimes people lie or manipulate us. Eventually, the truth comes out and our trust is betrayed. Hearts are broken, relationships are damaged. These are these Saturnian moments when we are encountering the limitations of the relationship. We're encountering a failure. We're encountering a need for a boundary, or we've had our boundaries disrespected, or we have come up against a restriction in the relationship where they said no to us or we said no to them and there was pain, right? In these moments, we are challenged to learn and grow through the pain. We do not enjoy these moments, but we do become more mature, more resilient, and more wise through the experience of this pain. Generally, if you look back on your life at a Three of Swords type moment, you learned something from it, and the way that you interacted with people was different after that. And usually we do not repeat those same mistakes after a Three of Swords moment. The Three of Swords does serve as a reminder that healing is a necessary and transformative process. While the initial impact of the heartbreak is undeniable, this card also talks about the potential for recovery and growth through facing and processing the pain. This is not the type of pain that we just put a band-aid on and ignore and it gets better. We have to process it. We have to work through it. And through that work, there's a Saturn word again, it takes work to get through it, but once we get through it, we are stronger. And we have learned something. We've transformed. We've become more wise. We've become more resilient. So these Three of Swords moments really encourage us to confront our emotions, engage in self-reflection, engage in thoughtfulness. Sometimes it requires us to communicate through these very awkward or painful situations in order to cope and move forward. So this card can often indicate the need for emotional release, the need for forgiveness, or a period of introspection to navigate this path towards healing. Again, the Suit of Swords is all about our thoughts, our ideas, and our mental state. And ultimately, the Three of Swords is a challenge that changes how we think or changes our ideas in some way. Saturn is all about growth that drives us to be more mature and more responsible with our own energy. Again, taking ownership for our own role in things. This is not about blaming other people, although sometimes we were definitely harmed by other people. We have to take responsibility for the choices of what we do next. Take responsibility for how we may have played a role in this situation. And we learn, therefore, to take responsibility for our own actions and how we're going to act moving forward. We learn to use our own words with more wisdom and maturity because we've seen the power that these words can have. And through the lens of Libra energy, we're definitely learning, this is definitely about learning how to interact with other people in a more responsible way. Perhaps we are learning to withhold our trust for the people who earn it. You know, when we're young, we often give trust to people very freely. And with time and maturity through these Saturn moments, we kind of learn that trust is something that is earned, right? It's not just something I automatically give you the first day I meet you. You have to show me that you're trustworthy. So these Saturn moments can teach us how to be more cautious about who we enter into partnership with, whether it's a romantic partnership or a business partnership. When we have experienced hurt and betrayal or pain in some way, we're going to become more cautious about who we enter into these contracts with, more cautious about who we are sharing our energy with, right? So these Saturn moments can potentially turn us cold. Saturn by nature is very cold. But hopefully the Venus energy of Libra can also shine through, and we don't permanently give up on trust and partnerships completely. Although sometimes a Three of Swords moment can take a long time to heal. Saturn is very slow. So when we have Saturn lessons, these are often things that take us a lot of time and effort to work through. there are like little conflicts that we have that might be like little Mars conflicts or little Mercury conflicts that we can kind of work through and get over in like a day or a week. These Three of Swords moments generally refer to something that takes a bit more time to work through. And whether it's working through it with the other person or just working through it internally, taking that time to reflect on how I got here, what I need to do, what I need to change. So there's a lot of this internal work that needs to be done to get us to a point where we feel healed from this situation and ready to move on. So don't force yourself to rush through the healing of these Three of Swords moments. Recognize that they're a Saturn moment and Saturn moves slowly. But at the same time, don't just ignore the wound and think that it'll go away on its own, because Saturn involves work. And you have to be actively working on the healing in order to obtain the healing and move forward from this moment. So that is generally a way of looking at the Three of Swords through the astrology of the Three of Swords, which is Saturn and Libra energy combined. As stated before, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's only representing Saturn in Libra, but it's a recognition that these Three of Swords moments are influenced by Saturn, and that Libra has important things to learn from Saturn. And if you have Libra planets in your chart, these represent parts of you that might need some Saturn lessons once in a while, especially if you have any planet in the middle 10 degrees of Libra. So between 10 degrees through 19 degrees, these planets are representing a part of you that needs some Saturn lessons, or will often experience some Saturn lessons and these Three of Swords type of lessons. It doesn't mean that you are going to have heartbreak constantly. It just does mean that these heartbreak moments are very impactful for you in a more personal way. Everyone has Three of Swords moments, though. Everyone has these moments of experiencing the archetype of Libra and Saturn, whether you have anything in Libra or this Decan of Libra or not. And sometimes you might just be having a Three of Swords moment, and remember that this is a Saturn and Libra moment. How can I embrace the messages of Libra, which is about harmony and cooperation, but remember to bring in those lessons of Saturn. It's about responsibility, maturity, and facing your limitations and learning from your limitations to become more resilient. All right. I hope that you all have a great week. I will hopefully be back soon with the next tarot card for the Libra energy of the Four of Swords. And I hope that you'll stick around. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the podcast so that you get notifications when I post a new episode. And also, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. This is the easiest way to support the work that I do. You can sign up for $5 or $10 a month, and you get access to a written version of these tarot astrology devotional podcasts, as well as all the other astrology stuff that I write about on my Patreon. And you can find that at www.patreon.com/HestiasMuse. Make sure you follow me on social media, Hestia's Muse on Facebook and hestiasmuse.astrology on Instagram for lots of astrology updates. And you can contact me for a personal astrology reading at www.hestiasmuse.net. All right, thanks so much for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.